I got started teaching ACT prep classes almost by accident. I was really focused on being a track coach. My dream was to be an Olympic track coach, so I studied the sports sciences. I studied sports conditioning, performance nutrition, periodization training, and I was a professional trainer and coach for over a decade. Well, one year I had a girl who wanted to go to college, and she would be the first person in her family to go to college. It was a big deal. But the problem was on her first ACT, she got a 15, and she wasn't necessarily a strong student, and she wasn't sure how to get the score up to where she'd be eligible for an athletic scholarship and get through the NCAA clearinghouse. So I worked with her one-on-one using the same mental approach, the same strategies I used for her as an athlete. Because this test is a competition, and you have to approach it just like an athlete approaches competition. It's the same mindset. Well, that helped her go from a 15 to a 20. Well, other parents found out and came to me for help. Soon it went from working with people one-on-one to small groups were being organized. But my focus was still coaching. I still wanted to be an Olympic track coach. Well, at some point, a parent came up to me and said, "Look, Jason, what you do with this ACT prep is phenomenal. There are so many parents in this area that need your help. You really need to get this more organized and have a classroom setting." And once I started doing that, it just took off and exploded. Parents would tell other parents, and soon I was in one town, then several towns. It kept growing and growing and growing throughout central Illinois into what it is today. I learned to do ACT prep by listening. When I was a public school teacher, at the end of the school year, I'd have my students evaluate me to teach me how to be a better teacher for them. The students are your audience. The parents are your audience. And so I thrived off that and kept making adjustment after adjustment. Well, my ACT prep classes, I do the same thing. When the class is over, at the end, I have the students fill out an evaluation form to tell me what they like about the class. How could I improve the course so I can get feedback from them? Throughout the year, we send out information to them saying, "Please let me know about the test." And kids respond. I'll get phone calls and emails. "Hey, this was on the test. You ought to try this. This worked for me, and this didn't." So over the years, I've been able to keep enhancing the program, making it better and better based off the feedback I get, because that's important. There aren't conferences out there to teach teachers how to do ACT prep. Reading a book is not enough. Kids change. The system changes. How I taught in 1995 is not how I teach today. How students come through public education in the 70s, 80s, 90s, even the early 21st century is not the same as it is today. Things change, and we keep this updated. Every year, it's in difference. That's what makes this course invaluable. It's constantly changing. It's constantly dynamic. The ACT is important because it's the only test you will ever take in high school that is fair. Let me say that one more time. High school teachers think they give fair tests, but they're fair in the context of the class. If your student has an Algebra 2 test and they get a 95%, it's fair within the classroom. But as soon as a student leaves the classroom, that test isn't fair anymore. I can't take that score and that test and compare it to someone in California or Texas or Florida. Courses are different, schools are different, teachers are different. But this test is fair. On any given Saturday, students go in, and everyone across the country, across the world, has the same questions, the same choices, the same amount of time. That makes this test fair. That allows me to compare someone from Chicago to St. Louis to Indianapolis. That allows me to compare someone from Illinois to California to Texas to Florida. That allows me to compare someone from the United States to England, Germany, Australia. See, this test is not just given in the United States anymore. Over 100 countries give this test. It's no longer a state competition or a national competition. It's an international competition, and you've got to be ready to compete. That's why it's a big test. It's a big deal, because the ACT doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for the high schools. It works for colleges. You've got to make sure you're ready, because this test is not the end of high school. It's the beginning of the college process. Why this program? Because there are ACT programs out there that all they do is hire a college student or a former teacher, give them a textbook, give the same book to the kids, and say, "Okay, here's what you do. Have them do practice tests. When they're done, read the answers, ask them if there's any questions." That's it. That's not teaching kids how to be better test takers. If that's what you want, buy the book. Do it yourself. Have your parents go over the answers with you. The answers are in the book. No one ever goes to high school and says, "Man, that was a great class. That was the best test book I ever had." That's not how it works. We talk about teachers, passionate teachers that motivate us. But it's got to be someone who is passionate about this. If you're hiring someone from college who's 21, 22, are they really going to be motivated to teach a 16, 17-year-old? I believe in this test. I know how important this test is. I've got kids. I don't plan on paying for their college. I expect them to get high scores, to get in the colleges they want to get into, and get academic scholarships because they've worked hard. And I'm training them that way. You're seeing the same methods I have my kids do. This is real to me. This is important to me. I do this year round. This isn't a game. It's not a job because I know how important this test is. This test is about whether or not you get into this college or you don't, whether or not you get this scholarship or you don't. And I want to make sure my students are ready. This whole program is the accumulation of everything I've learned from thousands of students, from thousands of parents. This test is a big deal, and you need to have the best instruction possible. You don't want to leave it up to a 21, 22-year-old student who's from college who doesn't care about your kid, who doesn't care about how you do. I care. This test is important. You know what? Kids sense passion. You need passion. You need motivation. And when you look at this program, it's not just about the ACT. It's much more than that because this is bigger than the ACT. This is about preparing for college. Again, the ACT isn't the end of high school. It's the beginning. And now is the time to get to another level.